The Roman orders and Roman buildings. There are 5 orders in Roman architecture, and these are the Doric, Tuscan, Ionic, Corinthian, and Composite order. Ancient Greek architecture firstly developed only 2 distinctive orders, the Doric and Ionic, with modifications later on developed and adopted by the Romans in the 1st century BC. The Ionic and Doric together produced the third capital, so-called Corinthian, and it had been used ever since on Western architecture. The Tuscan order was produced from a simplified form of the Doric, while Composite order is a combination of the Ionic and Corinthian orders. Now let's proceed to the first order, the Doric order. Among the 3 classical orders of Roman architecture, it is the earliest monumental construction made from impermanent materials like wood to permanent materials, namely stone. The Doric entablature includes a frieze composed of triglyphs. The capital consists of a simple necking, while the frieze section is composed of projecting triglyphs that alternate with receding square panels called azimatopes. The Doric capital is consisted of 2 elements, the echinus and abacus, and above the capital is the entablature which the frieze lays directly, divided in metopes and triglyphs. An example of this classical order is the Temple of Segesta.
Hi everyone, my name is Prince Lawrence Imbile, and the next topic we're going to discuss is about the Ionic order. Ionic orders originated in Ionia, coastal region in central Anatolia, which is today Turkey, where a number of ancient Greek settlements were located. It is most recognizable by its columns and notable for its graceful proportions, which produce a more slender and elegant profile than the Doric order. Every column is made of a base, a shaft, and a volute on top. In Ionic order, the volute is shaped like scrolls or spirals. The ancient Roman architect Vitruvius compared the Doric module to a sturdy male body, while the Ionic was possessed of more graceful feminine proportions. The Ionic order incorporates a running frieze of continuous sculptural relief as opposed to the Doric frieze composed of triglyphs and metopes. The echinus itself is carved with an egg and dart motif. The height of the entire Ionic order, column, base, capital, and entablature, is 9 lower diameters. The base of the column has 2 tori separated by a scotia. The shaft, which is 8 lower diameters high, has 24 flutes. On the entablature, the architrave is usually made up of 3-step fasciae. The frieze lacks the Doric triglyph and metope, and hence this area can hold a continuous band of carved ornament such as figural groups. So some of the example of an Ionic order are the columns of the Temple of Athena Nike. Okay guys, so the next topic we're going to discuss is about the Corinthian order. Its distinguishing characteristic is the striking capital, which is carved with 2 staggered rows of stylized acanthus leaves and 4 scrolls. The shaft has 24 sharp-edged flutes, while the column is 10 diameters high. The Greeks as well as the Romans regarded the Corinthian as only a variant capital to be substituted for the Ionic. The first known use of a Corinthian capital on the outside of a building is that of the choragic monuments of Lysicrates in Athens. The Corinthian was raised to the rank of an order by the 1st century BC Roman writer and architect, which is Vitruvius. Based on his writings, Italian architects of the Renaissance and Baroque periods developed an aesthetic canon that established rules for superposing the classical orders.
Number 4 is the Tuscan order. It is a Roman adaptation of the Doric. The Tuscan has an unfluted shaft and a simple echinus abacus capital. It is similar in proportion and profile to the Roman Doric but is much plainer. The column is 7 diameters high. This order is the most solid in appearance of all the orders. It is characterized by simple, unadorned columns and entablature. The columns also tend to be wider, squatter, and more widely set than other classical styles. Considered strong and masculine, Tuscan columns originally were often used for utilitarian and military buildings. In his treatise on architecture, the Italian architect Sebastiano Serlio from 1475 to 1554 called the Tuscan order as suitable to fortified places such as city gates, fortresses, castles, treasuries, or where artillery and ammunition are kept, prisons, seaports, and other similar structures used in war. Example of this order is the Vilnius Cathedral. The fifth order is the composite order. It is an order of classical architecture developed in Rome that combines characteristics of both the Ionic order and the Corinthian order. This order was not ranked as a separate order until the Renaissance, a late Roman development of the Corinthian. It is called composite because its capital is composed of Corinthian acanthus leaf decoration, or the 2 rows of acanthus leaves, topped by an Ionic capital using angle volutes rather than parallel ones. The column is 10 diameters high. The example of the composite order is the San Giorgio Maggiore Venice.
Let's move on to Roman buildings. Roman buildings refers to buildings constructed by the ancient Romans. This includes the basilica, amphitheater, colosseum, theater, circus, and pantheon. First is the basilica. It is a building for large meeting purposes, site for legal matters to be carried out, and the place of business transactions. Then, this so-called building was adopted by the Christian Church. Since basilica was adopted by the Christian Church, some main features were named, like the nave, which is the immense central aisle. Next, the colonnades, which are a row of evenly spaced columns which divides the side aisles. Then the apse, which is a projection where the statue of the emperor was placed. Lastly is the clerestory windows, which is designated above the central aisle that allows light to penetrate inside the structure. Basilical architecture is deeply rooted in the Romans' aesthetic sense of form, beauty, and harmony. Also, it is a symbol of authority and social order that is deeply rooted in the psyche of the Roman people. Examples are the Papal Basilica of St. Peter in the Vatican, which is a burial place of St. Peter, Jesus' disciple. Next is the Basilica of St. Mary, which is the largest basilica in Rome. Then, the Papal Archbasilica of St. John in Lateran, that is the oldest papal major basilica in Rome, and that was dedicated to John the Baptist and John the Evangelist. Last example is the Papal Basilica of St. Paul, that is located in Italy but under the authority of the Holy See. Next Roman building is amphitheater. It is described as a freestanding building of round or oval shape with a central area called arena. The seats were concentrically around it. Amphitheater means a theater with the seats on all sides in Greek. This building also reflects as a form of entertainment that people cherished, like gladiatorial games and Venetians, contest of beasts with one another, or of men with beasts. Amphitheater after the 8th century was sometimes named Colosseum, for the structure was immense size and capacity and could accommodate nearly 50,000 people. In modern age, a building is also sometimes used for a theater or concert hall and may also refer to a stadium in which athletic competitions are held. Moreover, outdoor amphitheaters, both ancient and relatively recent, are continue to be used for sports events and many other kinds of entertainment. Although in the mid-century, the structure took the form of a vast roofed stadium. Examples of amphitheater are the Flavian Amphitheater in Rome. It is one of the most famous and largest amphitheater that was constructed. Next is the Pula Arena in Croatia. Third is Verona Arena in Italy, with a touch of white and pink limestone in its outer ring. Last is the Pompeii Spectacula, which is the oldest surviving Roman amphitheater in the world.
Next is the Colosseum or the Flavian Amphitheater. It is one of Rome's most famous buildings and enduring monuments to the culture of the ancient Romans. It was capable of housing about 50,000 spectators that could enter through the building in more than 80 entrances. The spectators were protected from the rain and heat by sails called the velarium around the top of the attic and become an iconic symbol of Imperial Rome. It is an elliptical structure made of stone, concrete, and tuff, and it stands 4 stories tall at its highest point. It measures 620 by 513 feet, or 189 by 156 meters. The Colosseum was famously used for gladiatorial combat. The construction of the Colosseum began under the Roman Emperor Vespasian between 70 and 72 CE, and the completed structure was dedicated in 80 CE by Titus, Vespasian's son and successor. The Colosseum's fourth story was added by the Emperor Domitian in 82 CE. Importantly, the arena was paid for with plunder from Titus' sack of Jerusalem in 70 CE and was built by enslaved Jews from Judea. During medieval times, the Colosseum was used as a church and as a fortress by 2 prominent Roman families, the Frangipane and the Annibaldi. The Colosseum was damaged by lightning and earthquakes, and even more severely by vandalism and pollution. All the marble seats and decorative materials disappeared, as the site was treated as little more than a quarry for more than 1,000 years. Preservation of the Colosseum began in earnest in the 19th century, with notable efforts led by Pius VIII, and the restoration project was undertaken in the 1990s. It has long been one of Rome's major tourist attractions, receiving close to 7 million visitors annually. Changing exhibitions relating to the culture of ancient Rome are regularly mounted. Next is theater. The Roman theater was of course inspired by the Greek version, but the orchestra was made semicircular and the whole made using stone. The Romans also added a highly decorative stage building, Sine Frons, which incorporated different levels of columns, projections, pediments, and statues, such as is found in the theater at Orange. Theaters also display the Roman passion for enclosing spaces, especially as they were often partially or completely roofed in wood or employed canvas awnings. The fully enclosed amphitheater was a particular favorite of the Romans. The Colosseum is the largest and most famous, and it's a typical example copied throughout the empire. A highly decorative exterior, seats set over a network of barrel vaults, and underground rooms below the arena floor to hide people, animals, and props until they were needed in the spectacles. An example for theater is the Roman Theater in Orange. Located in Vaucluse, France, it was built early in the 1st century AD. The structure is owned by the municipality of Orange and is the home of the summer opera festival, the Corrières d'Orange. It's one of the best preserved of all Roman theaters and served the Roman colony of Orusio, the Julian colony of Orusio, which was founded in 40 BC, playing a major role in the life of the citizens who spent a large of their free time there. The theater was seen by the Roman authorities not only as a means of spreading Roman culture to the colonies, but also as a way of distracting them from all political activities.
The great Roman amphitheaters, called circuses after the Latin word for circle, were most often devoted to gladiatorial combats, chariot races, the slaughter of animals, mock battles, and other blood sports. The most spectacular of these arenas is the Circus Maximus. Circus Maximus was in operation for more than 1,000 years. It would seem on the surface that this exhibition of carnage had little in common with modern circuses, yet it is from the early Roman circuses that traditions such as trained animals and the pre-show parade derive. This is an entertainment or a spectacle usually consisting of trained animal acts and exhibitions of human skill and daring. The word has the same root as circle and circumference, recalling the distinctive environment in which such entertainment is presented. The ring, a circular performance area usually bounded by a short fence or crowd. The ring may be enclosed in an arena, in a building designed for circus performances, or in a tent, and it is generally surrounded by chairs of seats for a spectator. The Circus Maximus is an ancient Roman chariot racing stadium and mass entertainment venue in Rome, Italy. In the valley between the Aventine and Palatine Hills, it was the first largest stadium in ancient Rome and its later empire. It measured 621 meters in length and 118 meters in width and could accommodate over 150 spectators. In its fully developed form, it became the model for circuses throughout the Roman Empire. And lastly is the Pantheon. The Pantheon is the best preserved building from ancient Rome and completed in 125 CE in reign of Hadrian. The building consists of two principal parts: the porch, which is very classical Greek in presentation, and the circular building, which is much more Roman in style and reminiscent of architecture of the large Roman baths. The circular building is built using brick and concrete, but was originally faced with white marble stucco to match the porch in appearance. The dome is concrete with the external surface originally covered in sheets of bronze, but these were removed by Constans II in 663 CE. The Roman pantheon was originally built as a temple for all the gods. However, no cult is known for all the gods, and so the pantheon may have been designed as a place where the emperor could make public appearances. Pan is the Greek for all or every, and theosis is Greek for God. Pantheism is a doctrine or religion that worships all gods. The Pantheon is the best preserved building from ancient Rome and completed in 125 CE in reign of Hadrian. The building consists of two principal parts: the porch, which is very classical Greek in presentation, and the circular building, which is much more Roman in style and reminiscent of architecture of the large Roman baths.